Now, later on, Celaena and Nehemia, they have some girls' time again. And Celaena confesses to Nehemia that she hasn't killed anybody. Like, anybody that the king has told her to kill, she hasn't killed any of them. This is all-out confession time at this point, because now Celaena takes Nehemia down to the catacombs. And of course, you know, having another set of eyes to see everything really helps out. And I absolutely recommend that for anything. So if you're gonna like write a paper or anything, definitely have another pair of eyes, just look over, check anything that you missed. It helps so much. So anyways, so they're down in the catacombs. Of course, Celaena noticed that there's stars on the floor. She noticed that the first time she went through. But with Nehemia, she's like, oh my gosh, these are constellations. These aren't just stars. So we get a lot of good lore about the constellations in this world. So we figure out that the constellations leads to an eye and a word mark on the wall, okay? And the eye has a hole. So Celaena's like, let me look through it. And to her surprise, there's nothing. There's nothing in the hole. So she suspects maybe the eye of Elena has something to do with it. And Nehemia's like, it's not that easy. Let me just do more research. You know, Nehemia knows a lot about word marks and she knows what's going on. So she's like, hey, let me figure out, let me do some reading. Let me figure out what's going on, because, you know, like, there could be more to this situation. You know, nothing's that easy. And of course, Celaena's like, yeah, I trust you. Let's go with your theory. Before they leave, Celaena asks Nehemia to teach her how to learn word marks, because Celaena just wants to know. She wants to learn this ancient language. So later on, Celaena gets a letter from Archer naming a few rebels that he knows of that are just in this whole situation, that we're helping out Davis and such. She does some spying on them, so we love it. We love to see that Celaena is like some kind of Charlie's Angel. She's good at her job, and you know, we love that. So later on in the evening, there's a ball going on, and Celaena attends as a guard, but she leaves her position because she wants to dance. She just loves to hear the music, and she just feels this overwhelming sense to just dance by herself. And at this point, Cale sees her dancing, and instead of immediately reprimanding her, he asked her to dance with him, which is so sweet. While this is going on, Nehemia speaks with Dorian, and she tells him that his cousin, Roland, wants to expand the Calacola camp, and she asks for Dorian's help. She's like, I know I can trust you. You're a good friend. Please help me with this. I can't do this by myself. And before she leaves him, she says that he has some power in him, and she can help. Now, he doesn't know what this means, and we don't know what this means either, and we're kind of struck by it, but she just leaves it at that. And this gives him something to think on, and also us too, because we're like, how are you talking about Nehemia? Tell us more, girl. You got a lot of secrets. And you know what? I strive to be like that. I want to be that type of person who just says something mysterious and then just walks away, and people wonder about it. Now later, Celaena visits Archer at his house and pressures him for more information, and really just threatens him. She just really wants to scare him into it. She does put a lot of fear in him, and good for her. Now, Dorian really wants to help Nehemia, and so at the meeting with his father and his councilman, they talk about bringing more slaves in Calacola and all this stuff, and Calacola is already crowded to begin with. Dorian, who's so sweet, is so angry at the othering of the Elway people and at how much they're not thinking of these people and how just putting them as slaves. Like, these aren't people who have done wrong. These are just people, you know. These aren't people to be punished. He votes no to expanding Calacola. Yeah, we love Dorian. We do, we love Dorian. We do. And so after a verbal back and forth, he storms out of the meeting. He walks down the stairs and he just gets so angry. He punches a wall, and it's so forceful, it cracks and breaks a window, and the window shatters, comes like towards him, and all of a sudden there's just like this ring around him of debris that stops. That's the moment he realizes, oh my gosh, I have some sort of magic. Freaks him out. Okay, now Celaena and Cale share some sweet moments, and she leaves him to go back to her room, but she sees Dorian there, and Dorian's searching for Nehemia. She's like, hey, can I help you? And he's like, no, and then he storms off. So it's a little weird for Celaena. She's like, okay. But like I said, during the ball, Nehemia did go to Dorian and was like, hey, I can help you. And so I think that's what he was thinking. He was like, okay, only I can trust Nehemia. She can help me with what's going on. So she knows something. Nehemia definitely knows something. Now, a carnival has come to town, and it's for Prince Holland. They are celebrating him. They are like, yay, we love our prince. He's so sweet. We really don't get any like scenes with Holland at all. Like, no really speaking from him, which is really funny. They just use him as a plot device to give us more stuff to celebrate him for, which I like. I think that's a great idea. Kale's been prepping for the carnival and bringing like security and all that stuff. During Kale's perspective, the king instructs Kale to keep an eye on Nehemia, saying that she's too distracting and there's a threat on her life. Okay, and that's all we get. Roland ends up speaking with Dorian and sympathizing with them, and is like, he basically tells Dorian that he called off the vote after he left, and which is an interesting sentiment with Roland. Like, what is his, was he being kind, or what's his motive with this whole thing? We get some conflicting things going on, so we'll hang on to that. There is an answer to it, but we'll hang on to it. After Dorian speaks with Roland, he sees Celaena and Kale at the carnival while it's being set up, and they meet a fortune teller at the carnival who turns out to be a witch named Baba Yellowlegs. Now, sounds like an interesting character, and every time I read her name in this book, I read it in the cadence of Baba Black Sheep. Don't ask me why, but that's all I can think about. So after they talk to Baba Yellowlegs, Dorian gives Kale his birthday present. He has a birthday in a few days, and he gives him an Asterian mare, which is an expensive gift. It's just stupidly expensive. It's basically only for rich and royal people. And Celaena makes a comment about stealing an Asterian mare one time, and Dorian and Kale are like, "You did what?" And she kind of makes a comment about, yeah, she stole it from a lord one time, like a year or two ago, or like, a couple years ago or whatever. Now later on, Celaena goes down to the tomb to try something. She wants to know more about the amulet, basically, and she tries to put the amulet in the eye hole that she found. It fits, but it does nothing. And so she's like, okay, maybe Nehemia was right. It's not that easy. Now, Celaena has a dream that night, and it's kind of symbolic of her choices, but she wakes up from it. Turns out she has the same dream on that night every year, and she leaves from the palace, and she just goes outside the city to be by herself. And I kind of marked a few things from that dream, and this is what she dreamed of. Celaena stood on a barren edge of a ravine, a chill northern wind ruffling her hair. She had this dream before. Always this setting, always this night of the year. Behind her sloped a rocky, wasted plain, and before her stretched a chasm so long it disappeared into the starlight horizon. Across the ravine was a lush, dark wood, rustling with life, and on the grassy lip of the other side stood the white stag, watching her with ancient eyes, his massive antlers glowing in the moonlight, wreathing him in ivory glory, just as she remembered. It had been on a chill night like this that she had spotted him through the bars of her prison wagon on the way to Endovir, a glimmer of a world before it burned to ash. They watched each other in silence. She took a half step close to the edge, but paused as loose pebbles trickled free, tumbling into the ravine. And then it skips on. I'm going to skip a few paragraphs. The stag had come closer, his head now angled, as if inviting her to join him. But the ravine only seemed to grow wider, like the maw of a giant beast opening to devour the world. So Celaena did not cross, and the stag turned away, his steps near silent, as he disappeared between the tangled trees of the ageless wood. Now, that's a lot to unpack, which we're not going to do right now, but that's basically like her dream has a lot of prophetic and symbolic things that apply to her life, and she has the same one every single year. And so she goes and she leaves the city. Now, Kale goes up to Celaena's room in the morning to find out basically why she wasn't at the barracks to train, because they usually train every morning. He finds Nehemia in her room. She tells him that she's not there, and she informs him that she probably left the city because it's the 10th anniversary of her parents' death. That's a lot to unpack. So in the first few chapters of Throne of Glass, we hear about Celaena going absolutely wild on some guards at the salt mines, and then booking it for the border without, like, knowing full well that she'll probably be killed. Like, she just goes for it. She doesn't want to escape, she just wants to run. And she's knocked out and she's brought back to the salt mines. Now, we know that happened, in this book, we now know that happened on the anniversary of her parents' death. So this is something that's very emotionally triggering to her. Later on, after dark, she gets back to her room. She sees Kale is waiting for her, and he is providing company and cake. So during this time, Dorian is wanting to find out more about magic, and it means that he's already figured out I have magic. So he wants more. He wants to know more. So he goes to the library, and we get this entire history lesson, which I'll go into more. But basically, he's going through his family genealogical records, and he's looking for any note of someone in his family being a magic wielder. And so he's going through like couple generations by couple generations, because there's a lot. He sees that there were some magic wielders who were married in, but basically it was a drought. Like there's none that continued on in line. Now he found a record that started with Gavin Haviliard, who is the founder and the first king of Adarlan. So perfect. He's at the beginning. Here's where we get some lovely information. Gavin and his bride Celaena, they fought a dark lord named Erawan and received the land of Adarlan from his father-in-law Brannon, who is the king of Terrazin, or was the king of Terrazin, received the land of Adarlan as a wedding gift from him. Now, since Celaena Galanthinius Haviliard, I'm going to emphasize Galanthinius, there has been no Fae in the bloodline. So that's fun. He then looks at the Galanthinius family bloodline and saw it was riddled with magic wielders and such. He notes that they could have easily taken Adarlan. He's like, okay, they were so powerful, they literally could have conquered any kingdom that they wanted, but they didn't. Basically, they kept the peace. Okay, that probably should have been us. You know, don't tell my dad. He thinks for a moment. What if the heir of the Terrazin throne, Aelin Galanthinius, had lived? Would they be friends? Would they be allies? Would she be his bride? And then he thinks back on the time that he had met her. He had met Aelin Galanthinius when she was a child. His memory was a bit hazy, but he remembers that she had tried to set her older cousin on him to teach him a lesson for spilling tea on her dress. So very petty things, but like she's, you know, very much take charge kind of child. Speaking of the cousin, we get that his name is Aedion Ashriver, and he became a general for his father. Not Aedion's father, for Dorian's father. The cousin to the heir of Terrazin is now a general for the man who destroyed his homeland, Aedion's homeland. Don't worry, we're gonna figure out more about that. From Dorian's perspective, he wondered if Nehemia truly knew what was going on, like if she truly knew that he had magic. And he states in his thought process that he saw her drawing symbols in the air at the duel with Kanan and Celaena, and then fainting. Then he remembers Nehemia was there whenever Celaena's marking above her brow showed up, which we still don't know what that means, but he basically can't go to Nehemia. Nehemia's been MIA, so he decides in that moment, let's go talk to Baba Yellowlegs. We get Chaol's birthday dinner, which Celaena has beautifully put together, not herself, but has other people put together, in a greenhouse in town. It's like above this apothecary. It was a private dinner for them too. Chaol's favorite foods, and Chaol's absolutely amazed. He's like, no one has ever done this for me, like at all. Celaena has chosen at this time, at this dinner, to tell Chaol about the fact that she's basically been lying and saying, I haven't killed anybody for the king. And Chaol is basically mortified. He's basically mortified because he knows if the king were to find out, the king would kill her. And he doesn't like that. But then Celaena's like, hey, I plan on doing this until my time is up, and I'll disappear far, far away from Adarlan. And then Chaol's like, hey, I'll join you. Why not? Why not just give my title away and just go? And he promises to join Celaena in this moment, which is so sweet. And they finally kiss. Finally, like after months of Chaol pining for her. I'm so serious. This guy, I love him. I love him. He's so great. I love Chaol. But he is just so slow. So slow at everything. But like, he goes for it. He does. He goes for it. And when they go back to the castle, Celaena invites him back to her quarters, and they finally have sex. And it's like, awesome. Awesome. I do want to take this moment. We're going to pause for a second. I do want to take this moment and basically refute what someone said on social media about comparing Chaol to Matt from Vampire Diaries. Chaol is nothing like that rat, Matt. Matt is the worst. I can't stand him. I cannot stand Matt. Chaol is actually useful, okay? Chaol is kind, Chaol is sweet. He doesn't manipulate. Well, he does manipulate people. Hold on. Let me think about that. He's useful, okay? Matt basically just sits around and bitches. He doesn't do anything worth anything. I can't stand Matt, okay? I just wonder what would possess someone to compare the two, okay? Just because they're human and like in a magical world. And you know, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Chaol is annoying sometimes, sure, okay? There is a pivotal moment in one of the later stories that yes, he can be very annoying and some out-of-pocket things that he says. I get that. But there's a reason why, and we get to see an actual arc from Chaol, okay? Okay? And we'll leave it at that, because Matt does nothing. Anyway, so if you want me to talk about Vampire Diaries sometime, leave a comment down below, because I have a lot of feelings about that. I did watch that show. What a whirlwind, you know what I mean? Anyways, Dorian pays a visit to Baba Yellowlegs, and he wants to know about magic, and Baba is basically like, if someone were to have magic, they should figure out why it left in the first place, you know? Okay. And that's when Dorian leaves. We're already tipped off that Baba Yellowlegs is like kind of suspicious. We don't you know, why is a witch there? Witch presumably has magic, and so why is she there and the king knows about it type thing, like in a carnival setting? We're also worried about her selling Dorian's secrets. Okay, Dorian tries to make sure to be like, hey, don't sell my secrets, here's some extra coin. But still, what's to stop her?